Welcome to episode 123 of Hustle and Pro. I'm your host, Kelly Walker. Today we're talking about unforeseen, life-changing moments in sports, specifically one that impacted the life of our guest, Gavin Class. And we also have his fiance, Rachel Karwacki, with us. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Kelly. We're excited to be on here today and be able to share my story and share what me and Rachel and our family are doing with the Yolt Foundation.
Me too. It's really impressive. And when I first heard about you guys, I knew I wanted to talk to you because hearing your story and your journey, I think will be impactful to people and, helpful to somebody that's listening. So can you just sort of start with I know your story is a big one, but sort of start with the basics of, what you call your story, what happened to you, what you experienced.
Okay. So actually in the football season of 2013-2014, I was playing for Towson University, and we actually ended up playing in Frisco in the national championship game versus North Dakota State. That fall camp, I had a heat stroke. It was during 2 days. We were conditioning at the end of the practice. I ended up collapsing at the end of practice. My athletic training staff, my trainer just texted me yesterday or a couple of days ago, and he's always praying for me this time of year. And I was immediately taken to the ice baths we had on the sidelines, and the EMS came, picked me up, took me out of the ice baths, then brought me to the hospital. At the hospital, they recorded my temperature of being 108 degrees.
After being in the ice baths?
After being in the ice bath for a few minutes, for about probably five or so minutes. So they actually estimated my temperature being 111, which is the highest they had ever seen. And so then my case was so severe that I had to get transported to the University of Maryland Medical Center, where I ended up going through a series of procedures. My heart flatlined about 36 hours after my collapse. They had to resuscitate me, and then I was put onto the transplant list. Okay, so I needed a transplant. I don't know how much you know about organ donation, but you can donate half of a liver. A liver can regenerate itself, and so you can donate half a liver and give it to somebody. But my body was in such failure, I needed a whole organ.
Oh, wow.
So if I received half a liver, it would have just, my body would ate the liver and destroyed it. So it wouldn't have been able to regenerate. I was placed on the liver transplant list, and the miracle in itself, I received a liver within 12 hours.
Wow.
I was placed on the list because of my age and the severity of my situation. I was shot right to the top of the list. There was a liver not too far in Pittsburgh that they went and medevaced up and got it and came back down. Then I received my transplant. My kidneys started to come back very, very slowly. It was a couple-week process. My kidneys coming back. But overall, I had a liver transplant as a result of a heat stroke. And then it took about a year and a half for me to recover from that. I ended up having a lot of complications in the hospital.
Okay. And there's so much. I have so many questions. How old were you then at this time?
I was 20 years old.
Okay. 20 years old. So yes. I just my curiosity is sort of rewinding and learning. You're obviously playing football in college, so you've probably played football forever. Were there any indications that, did you have any underlying issues that you knew about, or anything that would have said you're at risk for this, or was it a complete shock?
Right. So going back to, kind of growing up playing other sports. So just kind of like your daughter, Kelly, me and my fiance, we both played lacrosse in high school. Rachel played at DU and Denver University. And from there, I was, I hit a lot of roadblocks already trying to go to college and play football. I wasn't heavily recruited. I originally wanted to play lacrosse, but then I gained gained a lot of weight, grew a couple inches in high school. Then I was like, oh, I guess I'm playing football now. So, kind of failed at the lacrosse path. And then coming out, it didn't seem hopeful that I'd be playing Division I football. I went Division III first for 2 years. Then I was actually able to transfer to Towson, work my way to transfer to earn a preferred walk-on at Towson University, and was there for a year, redshirted, and then the next following year was when I had my heat stroke. And leading up to my heat stroke, the signs, the symptoms, it could have happened to anybody that day.
Okay. So you had been working out in pads in those two sports and probably conditioning your whole life and running a lot your whole life and been under that same, workout structure, like regimen, right? You'd never had any issues like that in the past then?
No, not at all. The only thing I did have from here and there, I got muscle cramps, mostly playing in summer lacrosse tournaments. We had gone through the acclimatization through the NCAA at the time. Back then it was 2 days of helmets, 2 days of shells. And now it's actually 7 days before they even put pads on.
They've stretched out that acclimation time frame.
Absolutely.
Is that a result of athletes like you getting injured or having this happen to them?
Yes, it's happened to a lot of kids. There's been 3 football players within the past week that have died of a heat stroke on the field. That have
died of a heat stroke
in the past week.
Oh my goodness. Obviously, this is near and dear to you guys because it happened to you. You experienced it. That brings in part of what your foundation, what you guys do, and I'm guessing exactly why you founded it. Can you tell me what YOLT is?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first part, then I'll let Rachel answer a lot. So YOLT Foundation is You Only Live Twice, and that stems from me living my second life now after my transplant and being resuscitated, where I'm going out every day, every single day to be able to make an impact in somebody's lives. And I carry that through positivity. When I was in the hospital, my uncle came up to me. He asked me, he's like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, I'm all right. I'm laying in a hospital bed. Things could be better. But he's like, he told me right there, he's like, "Wrong. You're outstanding. And here's why. Because you woke up this morning and you had air to breathe in. You're able to do things that people that you might have not have been able to done, 3 days ago." He taught me the importance of being able to appreciate and being grateful that every day it's a gift given to us. That's why we call it living in the present, because every day is a gift. Where I'm able to go out and be positive and show that to other people. And so YOLT Foundation started when actually after my transplant, I wanted to compete in the transplant games. So kind of like the Paralympics, there's transplant games for people that have received organ transplants and people who have given organs and they've donated. So I was going to these meetings and I saw all these people just treating their lives like absolute garbage. They would just show up. They'd be so unhealthy. They'd be overweight, just completely out of shape. And it's like, you were given a second chance at life. Cherish it and take honor and in somebody died to save your life, and show respect to that person that died for you, to be able to go out every day and live to the fullest. And it's not people always say YOLO and about what they have to do tomorrow. It's like, no, that's not the goal. The goal is to make the most, reach your potential every single day. And so that's how we originally founded YOLT, is wanting to create some type of programs for people with liver transplants. We're not even just liver organ.
Rachel, when did you come into this story?
Yeah, so I joined Yolt Foundation January 1st. It's actually half a year from now.
Okay.
And it was honestly just something that was on my heart, and I knew I just wanted to be a part of this ministry. And I saw the passion with Gavin and his mom and his parents, and I just wanted to be a part of this. And I just took a step of faith, and ever since then we've just been really growing, and just, it's one life at a time. We've been just impacting lives, and it's just been so awesome to see and where we are now and where we want to be. So
I love that, one life at a time, because that's really all you can try to, reach. It's really hard and overwhelming to consider, okay, we got to start this foundation and we got to fix everything for everybody or something. And that's a little overwhelming, but realistically, it's one person at a time. If you can reach somebody and help them a little bit, or help them improve their life or change their life. So when you came in January, you already knew each other? You guys were already.
Yeah. So we were dating at the time, and then a couple months later he proposed, and now we're getting married in October. So a lot's been happening after that.
What an exciting time. How did you guys meet?
I lived with her now brother-in-law when I was actually attending Towson University.
Okay.
So she was the little sister coming hanging around her older sister, and that's when we first met.
I love that. That's great. I want to jump back into more of what the foundation does. Do you guys do you work with how to prevent or improve conditions for athletes, and how to for people to kind of know how to look for the possibility of having heat strokes and issues like that? Is that part of what the foundation does also?
Well, sort of. We work with the Corey Stringer Institute. Corey Stringer was a Minnesota Viking that collapsed on the field due to a heat stroke. And his wife started the Corey Stringer Institute at the University of Connecticut, where he went to college. They're the leading researchers and activists on heat stroke in the country. So they go around the country being able to, they talk to boards, they get the whole state boards of the high schools, they get the medical staff, the EMS, the athletic directors, and they bring everybody together to help improve regulation.
So they got a jump start on you, and probably, did a lot of the legwork and progress. And then you guys joined in and helped them. And that's part of what your mission is, I bet, just so that, you don't want other people to have to go through what you went through, obviously. And so if people can, I say notice the signs, but it's one of those things you don't know until it's happening, that it's happening to you. But it sounds like prevention and policy, and just like the way that the leaders of these sports, or the administrators of these programs, the way that they can structure some safety protocols, I guess, or something like that, makes a big impact. Yeah,
absolutely. And we kind of already touched on it before, but at the acclimatization, that period is huge. That period is huge in getting the kids out in the heat and getting them used to moving around. Like, you can't just go. Most of these, athletes, they're inside all summer, and then right when they go to, they're inside except when they're at the pool, and right when they go to football practice, they've got to have a period where they're acclimatizing to the heat. And so, like, my athletic trainer from college, Nathan Wilder, just told me, he just said that they pushed it back to 7 days, whereas I told you before, it used to just be 2 days for us.
Yeah.
And they've eliminated 2 days out of college.
Really?
Yeah, so there's no more 2 days in college anymore. And that happened a year or two after I was done playing. So the biggest things to help prevent, so I shouldn't say prevent, but prevent sudden death. So heat stroke is going to happen, but the death can be prevented if steps are followed.
Like what kinds of things do you look for there?
The biggest thing is having the athletic training staff recognize a heat stroke and recognizing the signs and symptoms. And then you have to be able to, if someone is experiencing a heat stroke, you have to take the rectal temperature. It is crucial. People think they can miss this step, but that was the step that wasn't required when I was playing, and that's the step that could have saved me from a liver transplant.
Wow. You said they backtracked after the ice bath and all that, and they had to sort of estimate and all that, but that step wasn't a part of the normal protocol then.
Correct. And it's still just recommended. It's not officially required yet. And the other thing is to cool first, transport second. So Maryland and Connecticut are the only states that have officially made that a law, that you have to cool before you transport.
So don't wait on an ambulance, get you in the ice immediately.
Immediately. But the huge part there is the rectal temperature, because you'll be able to see when somebody's internal body temperature drops below 104 degrees. And that's when you can take them out, then transport them.
In Gavin's situation, if they would have taken that temperature, none of this would have never happened. If his temperature would have reached down to 101, 102 degrees, all of this that he's experienced would have never happened.
Because what? Because the stress on the rest of your organs, the rest of your body wouldn't have been as severe, and they wouldn't have started to shut down. So you're saying if you would have stayed in the ice bath long enough to reach the 104?
Below 104, yeah.
Below 104. Okay. Yeah, I've obviously didn't know that. I don't think most people do. That's really interesting.
No, so the other big thing is the ice tub is what saved my life. So now it's crucial for, I know there's a lot of rural high schools that don't have a lot of equipment, don't have access to ice machines, but coaches and athletic training stuff need, during this time of year, they have to bring some type of method of cooling to the fields in case someone experiences a heat stroke.
And my guess is, if you don't think about it till it's happened, it's too late. You can't create an ice bath that's ready to go on the spot, right? It has to be done prior to.
Correct. So we were fortunate enough that we had ice baths because we were required to take ice baths after every 2 a day. But there's a lot of schools that can't do ice tubs, so there's several other methods. There's you can take a tarp, and it's called the taco method, and you put the person in the tarp, and you have hose water. You have people on each side, and they're shaking the cold water over top of the person. And then even if you don't have that, you can cover somebody in completely iced down rags. So they have a cooler of rags out there on the field. You cover someone in the ice rags.
I mean, it's got to be I know it's so hard for coaches to know how hard to push kids. Even just in my own young kids scenarios this summer, I went to pick up from a lacrosse practice, a conditioning workout, and I saw her stopping. She got sick a few times, and the coach, it's the tough love stuff, but it was a conditioning coach, and told her to keep going, and then made everybody watch her finish. And then she had to run more because she stopped, and all these things. I'm like, she's dehydrated now. She's vomited several times. And it just, you start to wonder, like, what is that breaking point? How do these coaches know when to push people too far?
Yep.
And definitely taking the right, like sleep is so important. The right recovery, refraining from activity when you are sick or when you are feeling, tired, and just being cautious about if you're trying a new supplement or medication. So just little things like that.
Okay. I want to shift gears again and go back to, there's so many things. I want to go back to the organ transplant side of your story. 12 hours. That does seem incredibly fast, because you hear about people that are on lists, organ transplant lists, for a long time, for years, I guess. So you got expedited to the top of the list because your situation was so severe. You couldn't wait. Do you have a understanding of like what your max timeline could have been, like how long you were able to wait?
I was at the max timeline.
And so he was on a Mars
Yeah.
machine.
I was the first one to use the liver dialysis machine. I know everyone knows a kidney dialysis, but it was the first liver dialysis machine, and we were fortunate enough that we were at University of Maryland Medical Center who had the machine, and that's kind of what bridged the gap. That's what was able to keep me alive long enough to be able to receive the transplant.
That's incredible that you are at the right place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The experience itself, it's got God's hand all along the way. Just, everything happening from me at least getting put into the ice tub to me, being at the right hospital to me getting a liver within 12 hours and going through everything I went through where it was just stuff was meant to be where I wasn't supposed to die that day.
That's amazing. What do I need to know, or what do people need to know to be available and ready and there to help people?
I definitely think, yes, everyone needs to be an organ donor. One person can save up to 8 lives. And you can be a living donor, a deceased donor.
8 lives is a lot. You don't think about that. And you don't think that you could be living also. A lot of people think it's a scary thought to think, oh, I don't want someone to choose to end my life because they need to save someone else, which doesn't happen. Right. But 8 lives is pretty impactful. What else were you going to say?
Well, so that's 8 lives that can be saved through a crucial organ transplant, but there's tissue donors as well. So you can impact hundreds of lives with all your veins, your blood vessels. You can be a skin donor. You can donate your eyes, your corneas. All of that is still able to, when you're registered. So that, yeah, like Rachel said, that's the biggest thing, is just being registered in the first place, but also people knowing that they can be a living donor. You can donate half of your kidney half of your liver while still being alive. You can donate one of your kidneys while still being alive. To be able to have people to be able to give their organs is so huge. And it's not, people, doctors, hospitals are not going to mutilate your bodies for science. And it's your organs are going to be given to somebody. We just met at a race. We met a mom who was a survivor of her child who died in a car accident. And what's amazing to me is that she's had dinner with every single family that's been given one of her son's organs.
Those organs can not only save the life of a patient, but it keeps someone's child alive, or brother or sister alive. And then it's so many lives beyond just the patient that you're saving. I love y'all's story. So Gavin, class, very inspirational to hear, what you went through, 8 years ago. And I love hearing how far you've come and how, the support and how you got through it, and that you now support and help others, both of you guys, through the Yolt Foundation. So I'll share all that in the information in the episode so people can go check out more, but it's YOLT for You Only Live Twice Foundation. Love that name. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy out there in Colorado, but I love hearing your story and learning from you guys. So thank you so much.
Kelly, thank you so much for having us on and allowing us to be able to share with you and share our story.
Thanks, Kelly. We appreciate you.